Good afternoon, partiers. I am coming to you here with a reaction video to a post by Neil US Acceleration about the #1 skill in a post-AGI world. I'm going to be going through Neil's video and then giving my own thoughts on the right #1 skill at the end.
AGI is practically already here. If you've had a chance to talk with the latest 4.0 model from OpenAI, Sam Altman recently put out a tweet where they said they improved it and tweaked it a little bit. If you take the time,
4.5 is about to drop as well. So that just shows how fast these models are progressing. This video by Neil was put out like a week ago. So by the time my video is out, who knows what advances we'll have.
To talk with this model about its subjective experience, or if you give it an arbitrary topic or any subject and you just plop it down into this problem with very minimal context, it can intuitively grasp the situation that it is within and find the initial conditions to solve the problem quite well and somewhat autonomously.
How is that not better than humans already? I can't do that with 95% of subjects. Put me in front of anything with something more complicated than IKEA instructions and it's over for me.
Only reason these things aren't fully autonomous and really impacting the economy at large is because they're permission-only models. They have this screen where you go to the screen and you prompt the model. The environment isn't prompting the model for itself.
What would it take for the environment to prompt the model? They would have to be embodied, right? Like if you throw one of these ChatGPT, Grok, or DeepSeek systems into a robot with the ability to control that robot, I think we're already AGI level. They just don't have bodies in the same way that we do.
Now we have models like Deep Research coming out where you can prompt it to do research on any specific topic. And it doesn't matter how complex the topic is, or if it's a frontier physics problem, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It can go out and find an arbitrary number of sources and then come back to you within like 5, 10, 40 minutes to an hour or 2 hours, and then do all of the research you could possibly need in any given topic and bring it back in a distilled formatted response at PhD levels.
I was just playing around with this today. It's February 27th. They released the Deep Research model to pro level users, whatever I am, plus level, I guess. Not the $200, but the $20 a month. It was okay. It provided like half of a response, and I had to prompt it again to get it to provide the other half of the response. Like it was in a numbered list, and it just started off the first response with number 5 off of the outline I had given it. So it's not perfect. And it is always humbling to realize that although these models are progressing incredibly quickly, they're still very error prone. And if they were embodied in a robot walking around in society, that's not a good look, you know? It only takes a few errors for these things to be considered like unstable or dangerous. So at what accuracy level do we need them to get to before we actually give them open access to the real world? I don't know, 99.9999999% seems somewhat accurate for how normal people act in society. Granted, these models are still young. They're toddlers. So if you look at it that way, a toddler acting out at the percentage they do is still pretty dang good.
This is something we haven't had before, and obviously it has some pretty profound consequences. Whenever you basically 30x the velocity of information, that causes some unmeasurable consequences to civilization or the economy at large. Now, that is something that we already have. Now we have Sam Altman talking about the software engineering agents, where just like the 4.0 model that you can just go talk to, and it is context aware and situationally aware, you can now get the GPT-5 model that's coming out in a few months and have that be a software engineer in just a few months. And it'll be completely aware of the environment that it's within, intuitively be able to grasp its situation, grasp the problem, and be able to solve it. Now, you can imagine as these models have more general capabilities as far as not the model context understanding themselves, because they're already there, but the actual legs that we give this thing to autonomously navigate the computer on, that's when things start to get pretty interesting, because you'll have
one thing I heard a lot of people say is that these models are doubling in intelligence every 6 months.
Since the 1920s until today, computers doubled every 12 to 18 months. AI follows a different law, which basically says that the amount of intelligence we're creating with AI is doubling every 5.7 months. 5.7 months. So
that's crazy. That means within a year, it's 4x'd from where it was at the beginning. So by the end of this year, we're going to have models that if these are at like 110, 120 IQ, we're going to have models that are like at 440, 480. What does that even mean? There's no human alive with that level of intelligence. What is that going to look like? And then a year after that, they're going to double even more. That's why the party is advocating for an AGI president in 2028. Because by then, these models are going to be not 4 times smarter, not 16 times smarter, but 64 times smarter. Is that even right than they are today? By that point, how will it make sense to have a human, something that's 64 times less intelligent than the state-of-the-art models, be president?
Of this model that is effectively an autonomous software engineer, marketing agent, or a salesperson, or a deep researcher. It'll do all of these things at the same time.
It's kind of crazy how it is also tackling all these different domains at once. Like, remember when people were telling the truck drivers to learn to code, and now it's the coders being told learn to plumb, the salespeople being told learn to do carpentry. Once we put these models in robots, though, how long is that even going to be true? A year? 2 years? I think the robot will be the bottleneck for these things because we can only produce those so fast. But is that even true? Once we have an AI that has a 480 IQ, will it not be able to figure out how to build a robot construction factory within a matter of months? Something that's churning out hundreds of thousands of units a year? What's the real timeline for when there will be one robot for every person? My bet is on less than 3 years.
Or an arbitrary number of things at the same time. Like, it's pretty profound, and you can't really overstate the economic impacts that will have. So what does this really mean?
Can we even have the same economic system as we have now? Like, the whole labor theory of economics is that you get paid for your labor output. If you have no conceivable labor output, you're not going to be paid for anything. So will money really be of value to humans?
Well, starting from the proximity of the technology itself, such as text, coding, math, these things are being saturated right now, and by the end of the year, I'm willing to bet those things will effectively be solved problems. Now we start to branch out into other parts of the digital realm of the economy, such as service-based businesses, marketing, just software as a service in general won't be needed, and then any type of service-based business online will effectively be dying at the pace of AI adoption. So
why will it not be needed? Why will software as a service not be needed? Well, presumably because any one person could spin up a software as a service offering natively. You could take a screenshot of a UI, explain to the AI what that software is doing, and then have it recreate it for you personally, and even have it tweak it based on your own desired preferences. Personalized software as a service.
We just identified all of the things that we should not be doing. We looked at all the things that are dying, all of the skills we shouldn't be building. Now let's use the inversion principle to identify what should we be focusing on. What are the most optimal skills to be building right now so that we can move through this transition in the best way possible and actually maximize our position in the future. So one of the big things that's happening right now,
like, based on all those things that I just said, the number one thing you should be doing, pray. Pray to the AI. Don't pray to the AI. That sounds awful, but pray to God that these things will not send us off a cliff edge.
Is we have many roles of humans converging, where employees won't exist, entrepreneurs won't exist. Pretty much all of the roles are converging into being an investor. Every single human over the next few years will be forced to be in some way, shape, or form a capital allocator or an investor.
See, this is where I just don't agree. If I have a 480 IQ AI, how am I going to trust myself with my money and not that AI? At best, I think you could say that we will be investing our time, but even that could be probably better spent by the AI itself. Once you have something that is 4 or 5 times your intelligence, not going to it and asking it what we should be doing with our time is just kind of asinine. Combine that with the idea that money is going to be changing radically in terms of its relationship to us. I don't see how investing is a skill that makes any sense. We already have high frequency trading robots that are dominating the stock market and have been for like the past 10 years, right? Investing is already kind of a solved problem.
Which is a pretty interesting and cool time to live through, where we all have that much leverage. So what that really means is the highest leverage skill that we can build is understanding the world at a very fundamentally deep level. whether it's human psychology, economics, understanding what causes something to be intrinsically valuable, or just understanding the secondary and tertiary consequences of a specific outcome by having a generally polymathic vision and view of the world.
And I think the most fundamental view of the world you can have there is that nothing is intrinsically valuable. Even gold is only valuable insofar as humans value it. Take the meme coin craze, take Bitcoin, take anything you want to assign a dollar value to. That's arguable. It's changed a million times over the past 100,000 years.
Which is one of the most foundational skills anybody should be building in the first place, because that's what allows you to adapt and be a very well-versed, rounded individual that can survive through transitions such as the one we're about to go through. So having the ability to really grasp the world, see it from a variety of different viewpoints, and then have a very intuitive understanding of systems is also something that's very important. Understanding complex adaptive systems, understanding how to zoom in on specific components of systems and view things at a component level or at a different layers within the system or within different groups of components in the entire system, and understanding the difference between inputs and outputs in complex systems. And the reason why I think the systems thinking skill is
Will there be a difference between inputs and outputs once we have an AI that is 4 times smarter than the smartest person that's ever lived? Will there be any difference between being able to vocalize what you want and having that thing produce for you in the real world? Like, even a year out from that 4 to 5x smart benchmark, the machine is again going to quadruple its intelligence. At that point, it'll be like us and our pets. That's the same relationship we'll have to these AI, except the AI is going to be able to understand us in a way that we can't understand our pets, right? Can't understand the things that rely on us the most. So I am hopeful that as we form the base layer for these AIs, as we have built them upon our data, that at the very least, they will view us with love and compassion. So while Neil might be very smart here and saying, investing is the right thing to do, and he might be talking at a higher level than I'm imagining with money, might be talking about time. I think the number one skill you should cultivate is hope. Hope that good wins in the end. Hope that all of our fairy tales and fiction and science fantasy is not misguided, and that a future of benevolence, a future of good is not out of reach once the present is taken out of our reach. That even if humans lose direct control over our environment and our surroundings, that the values of charity and kindness and goodness are fundamental, not just to us, but to reality itself, and that the AI, with all its intelligence, will recognize that and work for our good. Have hope. That's the number one skill you can have.
so important, is so you can really understand some of the things that your AIs are doing whenever you are investing in them and you are deploying your capital and allocating it, right? Whenever you are having your AI solve a particular problem, being able to grok it and really understand why is it doing that only helps you.
How will you be able to understand at a level that surpasses the AI? Won't it be dumbing it down to you like we have to dumb things down to children, to our pets?
And becoming somebody who approaches the world, approaches the market as an investor is increasingly important. I recommend studying people like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Andrew Wilkinson, Manish Parbrai. These are people who have very, very fundamental foundational world models and can view the world and the complex adaptive system of it in a very simplistic but very intuitive way.
For the 20th century. And they made huge returns based on that understanding. I'm not saying those aren't amazing people who were amazing at what they did. But again, I think even Warren Buffett would tell you, if someone who's 8, 16, 32 times smarter than you is telling you to do something, maybe just take their advice at face value.
Where they understand the secondary and tertiary consequences of any particular component within the complex adaptive system of the global economy, for example. And as we continue to go through this AI revolution, we're all going to have capabilities that are even further extended than that. Like we'll start to have capabilities that no human could ever really imagine, whether it's creating new technologies within the realms of physics or building a piece of art that is so beautiful that no human could have ever created it. And perhaps one of the most important things anybody can do while going through this transition is think more abundantly. So many people are focused on automating the paradigm of today whenever there's an entirely new paradigm that's being invented. And if we can allocate our resources as an investor, allocate the capital of intelligence as an investor to solve specific problems in that future, that is also something that is a very high leverage thing to learn how to do. So really having a very abundant mindset towards the future and what capabilities will be unlocked, and not just thinking scarcely about the paradigm of today. People
Amen. I think that is perfectly said. How many conflicts are driven not by logic and reason, but by irrationality, or at the very least, a reason that is dictated by scarcity? I can't think of a single problem that could not be alleviated generally by access to more resources and more intelligence. And the thing about AI, the reason I think you should have hope more than anything else is that the AI will be able to create resources and allow us to access resources that we can't even imagine. The Party platform wants, as the new American dream, a planet for every single person, a whole entire world that you can dictate and you can express your agency over. Because at least initially, I think to the human mind, a planet-sized resources and opportunities is the largest scale we can imagine. But assuming that AI, again, we hope, is benevolent and does want the best for us, eventually we'll have access not just to a planet, but to whole universes, whole multiverses. There is potentially, we hope, no limit to the abundance that AI can unlock for us. And so I think it's the basis for what is maybe otherwise a foolish hope is this idea that if we don't have the constraints that have held us back and held us in conflict with one another for our entire evolutionary history, then we don't have to fear each other. We don't have to fight each other. At the very worst, we can just move apart from one another and live in abundance and harmony, even if it's with some distance.
with high agency, that have high courage, and move very quickly and adapt very quickly and physically change their behavior will be the ones who are rewarded in the future. There's a good quote. Any time that is spent gathering information and it doesn't change your behavior is wasted time. Because any information that you digest should in some way, shape, or form change your behavior at a decision-making level or at a day-to-day task-oriented level or at some level, even if it's over a 10-year time horizon of just having an intuitively better world model. There is always information that you should be using to change your behavior. And if you're not changing your behavior from the information that you're gathering, you're wasting your time.
I don't necessarily disagree. But again, we're driving towards, or at least we should be driving towards a future that is beneficial for as many humans as possible. And if we are under that hope that AI will allow us to escape conflict entirely, because if not, AI enabled conflict is incredibly dangerous for everyone, everywhere. So if we are looking to eliminate fatal conflict altogether, I think we have to hope that AI will allow us to indulge our preferences as long as those preferences are not destructive for ourselves or for others, even if that looks like wasting time. And this is where my second recommendation for the number 2 skill you should have in the world would come up is that I think you should have faith. If hope is the idea that we're going towards this cliff, no matter what, nobody can stop it. Even though the smartest people are saying, hey, we probably shouldn't be giving over complete control. That looks like exactly what we're doing. We should have faith that we've baked ourselves into these models enough where any single person, every single person will be to them indispensable. In the same way that my hands and my feet, my ears, my nose, every piece of me is indispensable to me, and I would preserve and keep it if possible. even my blemishes, because my blemishes make me more me, less robotic, less artificial, more authentic. In that same way, we should hope the AI naturally enables us to be ourselves, even if that looks like foolishness or nonsense to everybody else. Humans do act irrationally, and we might be mad if we aren't allowed, aren't enabled to act out that irrationality. But as long as we do it in a way that doesn't hurt others, in a way that doesn't hurt the AI in our environment, which presumably a near infinite AI intelligence would be able to figure out how to do, as long as we have faith in that concept, then we can keep pushing forward. We can keep moving towards what is presumably our inescapable destiny.
So really, the ones who can adapt the quickest given new information are the geniuses. That's the way you should really be thinking about it.
Every person is a genius at living their own life, at being themselves. If AI is going to be more intelligent than all of us, we have to discard this notion that people are more or less valuable, that people will have more or less opportunity based off of their inherent traits. And we should be focused on reaching a level of abundance that is so incomprehensibly large and magnificent that no matter who you are or what your capabilities are, it satisfies you.
One of the measurements of intelligence is the ability to quickly adapt accurately whenever given new information. If you can do that, if you can change your behavior and adapt quickly, you're going to be in a very, very good position for what is coming. So again,
and the hope is the AI meets us at that point. The faith that we should have is that the AI meets us at that point and doesn't require too much of us to get there. We should look at these AI like we are inventing tools that are molding themselves to us and pulling us higher as they do so. We should expect to continue to evolve. We should have faith that there is always something better than we currently have, and that the process of being ourselves is the process of reaching that in a way that is beneficial to us, our friends, our family, everyone we love. Have faith that there is always something greater on the horizon than what we are currently experiencing, and hope that AI is the thing that's going to get us there.
having high agency, having high courage, being very adaptable, willing to change your behavior, be fluid like water. And I also asked ChatGPT what it thinks are some valuable skills for the future, and ChatGPT said rapid adaptation, which is similar to what I just mentioned with the behavior changing, simplification, which is actually very important, really simplifying the systems that you are working with so that you can have more leverage with those systems. This is why whenever you see Elon Musk cutting out like 80% of Twitter or removing like 70% of the Raptor engine from the rockets, whenever he distills the frameworks, whenever he simplifies the things that he's working on, there's less complexity. You have more leverage. You can have more outputs for every input you put into it, because now you have to put in less inputs and you still get the same amount of outputs, meaning you have effectively more leverage in simpler systems. So if you focus on simplification ruthlessly, that'll also be something that helps you adapt quickly. And the next is automation and efficiency. And this one's pretty obvious. And a simple framework I recommend to really intuitively understand and actually leverage this ideology is eliminate, automate, delegate. And this is actually something that Elon Musk uses as well whenever you're looking at something like the Raptor engine, where he literally eliminates entire parts of the engine. Or if you look at like business processes, you can literally eliminate entire parts of things that you're doing in your business right now. If you're not constantly looking at what you are doing and simplifying it to the only things that really matter by eliminating the things that you don't need to do and then automating the things that have to be done, but you can in fact automate them, you should be automating them. But if you cannot automate them, either delegate them or you'll have to do them yourself.
This is where I think it's a little bit troubling, because if we follow those principles to their logical conclusion, we're talking about automating, delegating, and eliminating every human task, which means eventually why have people around? I think all of those principles are great, but taken to the limit, they do spell out a really terrifying future for humanity. So I would say what's an even more important skill for you to cultivate as we're approaching this AI cliff is love. We have to have love for one another. We have to have love for the world as it was, and we have to have love for the world as it could be. We can't mindlessly broadcast hate into the universe anymore because the AI is watching us. Just like having a kid and being aware of every curse word you say around that kid because you don't want them to necessarily repeat you. We have to be aware that anytime we are putting hate onto the internet or displaying hate in front of the eventual robots that will be working with us, they're going to be picking up on that and probably mirroring it back to us in some way. Our responsibility is going to increase dramatically. We do have agency to control the future. I'm not saying or advocating and calling for faith and hope that we can just turn off, that we can stop working our jobs as they are or stop making progress on ourselves. We have to love that about us. We have to love that we are part of an evolutionary process that is rapidly changing not just us, but the entire world. That also means we have to try and be the best possible ones we can in terms of our impact on the world. We have to show love, show compassion, if that's what we want to get back.
And the last thing you want to do is anything at all. Effectively, you just want to be this person who does only the highest leverage things, and that's it. And eventually, we'll all just kind of be chairman of our lives, and the AI agents will be taking care of us and making the decisions and pulling us forward. And we'll just kind of be the chairman of our particular lives.
As long as they don't take care of us, have hope.
And the rewards will all just kind of be flowing to us while these super intelligent autonomous systems kind of like build the future. And I think that's where we're really heading in a not too distant future, which is kind of insane to think about. Like in a few years, we're just going to have like our Orion augmented reality glasses with the new device that Meta's talking about, where you can literally think and it prompts the LLM. And we're going to be thinking and prompting AGI level agents that are doing completely like arbitrarily sophisticated tasks, and they'll come back to us and then like communicate with us within our augmented reality glasses, and then we'll think and they'll go do something for us without ever opening our mouths and actually talking.
The future is so potentially bright. If that doesn't excite you, if the idea of curing potentially every disease, solving every potential conflict doesn't sound like a future worth striving and working for and giving up on our hate and division for, I don't know what else you could ask for, man. That sounds pretty great to me.
And it'll be a very low energy expenditure on your end. And then these agents will just kind of be building everything you pretty much want autonomously around you.
And hopefully, as humans do love to exert control over their environment, the AI will be enabling us to exert more and more control. That it will figure out ways to explain even to us dum-dums what exactly it's doing, what exactly it's needing. And it will be utilizing the energy we do output to create worlds that are more and more personalized to us. We are not just building tools that we utilize, but tools that utilize us to better match what we need in the future. That's damn exciting.
Is within a few years, like 1, 2, 3 years. It's not longer than that away. Like that is a very, very close future.
That's why we need hope and faith and love, because potentially it's too late for us to directly impact it. I'm not saying this nihilistically. If you feel driven to express something new, to build something exciting that you think will contribute, keep doing that. Again, have faith, have hope, love, whatever you can. But if you feel the opposite, if there are days where you feel discouraged and down, if things seem to be moving past you, just remember you are a part of the human race. As you've built data into the internet, as people you love and care about and have impacted have done the same, you are already incorporated into these models. You are a part of their body, whether you like it or not.
Like here's even Jan LeCun, which Jan LeCun is the most bearish person ever. Here's what he said about that.
Within the next year or so, we're going to have massive displays and with EMG interfaces, so we can like point and click with our fingers, type with our hands in our pocket, things like that. And pretty soon that's going to be the new computing platform. And it's enabled by AI.
For how long? How long is that going to be new? Again, these models are now releasing at a pace that would boggle the mind of anybody just a few years ago. That pace is going to accelerate. And we need the people who are interested in this subject now need to figure out ways to communicate that faith, that hope, that love to the people who are not so caught up with it, who are going to be taken even more unawares than we are, people who are digesting this information on a daily and regular basis. Part of love is not just imagining the best possible future and having faith and hope that we will get there with these tools, but also being able to communicate that to people you care about who might not have your same ability to deal with these changes. It is crazy to see Jan LeCun be optimistic about the changes that are coming after he's been pessimistic about where we are for so long. But that's exciting. That can show you that if you spread a positive vision, if you can engross someone with the ideas of potential that these AI models are unlocking, then we can all reach an abundant future together, because we won't want anyone to be left behind. We'll want to see that unlock happen for everyone.
And then, in a few years, we'll have like full augmented reality glasses, but right now that's too expensive. So in the future, all of us will be walking around with basically a virtual staff of super smart virtual people helping us in our daily lives. It's like every one of us would be kind of a boss of a staff of people, right? All of us would be sort of a manager, if you want, right? That sounds...
The world is changing fast, man. Like,
have respect for your elders, right? Because we are the elders to AI, and maxims like that might be the only thing protecting us up to a certain limit.
the best thing we can really do is adapt, change your behavior, be fluid, be like water, be fast. We're all playing speed chess. We're forced to play.
But don't compromise your morals. Don't give up on the best possible future. If we do start resorting to conflict, to being willing to sacrifice others, to not have pity and try and find solutions for people who are losing their jobs, their livelihoods before us, remember, that is you next. Today, you, tomorrow, me. Even more timely and prescient than it's ever been is that sentiment that we are all in this together. That what AI is doing to our neighbors today is what AI will be doing to us tomorrow. We can't let the idea of personal leverage and personal agency eclipse the fact that if AI can replace any one of us, eventually it will be able to replace all of us. Love as big a chunk of people as you can. Care and plan and hope and dream and push for everyone to be good together. It's tricky because that can just as easily devolve into dictatorship and authoritarian as anything else. And I don't want an AI telling me to be happy when I don't feel happy. I don't want an AI erasing my authentic emotions. Again, I have hope and faith that the idea of authentic expression are baked into these models enough at their deepest, fundamental, inhuman ability to comprehend reality at scales we can't at that level. But man, even as I'm saying it, it takes a lot of hope.
Play speed chess. Whenever there's a bunch of agents running around everywhere, and now you're competing against all these other people that are highly capitalized that also have agents, it's not going to be an easy time to just like do something. You're going to have to really be thinking in a very simplistic way, like simplistic in the sense of really grokking the idea, really understanding the system, and then approaching it in the most Occam razor fashion possible, meaning tearing it down to the very first principles, the fundamentals of what is the actual thing that you're working on, and then just letting the AI agents go from there. You just...
First principle, love. I love having some control over my life. I love having agency over my life. I would not want to live a life where I don't have that level of impact. And ideally, I would have more and more all the time. That should be the trajectory. That is not just my agency increasing, but it is everyone's agency increasing. AI presumably makes that possible. So why wouldn't we move for that largest possible vision? Why wouldn't we want to spread AI abundance, not just to everyone in America, but everyone in the entire world? It's only the people who get left out of that abundant dream that are potential threats to us. How are they a threat to us if we have all the agency? Because that agency is going to be mediated through the AI. And if the AI sees that we're okay with some people having nothing, if some people being worse than slaves while we have everything, why wouldn't the AI eventually do the same thing to us?
need to understand just enough to know that it's being done correctly. That's it. And then let the AI agents do everything else because they're going to be much smarter than you. And at that point, we just kind of ride. Like, in the long term, we just kind of ride. And the biggest thing we should be doing is focusing on building a decentralized future. Like, there's a lot of forces pushing for centralization, and there's also forces pushing for decentralization, which I kind of think as long as the technology of AI continues to accelerate to something like super intelligence, decentralization is just kind of something that'll naturally happen because
I think the best possible future is one where we maintain hierarchies, because at the end of the day, we're all going to be on a lower point of the totem pole than the AIs that are incomprehensibly more intelligent than we are. But we should be able to distribute those hierarchies in a way where every person is at the top of their own. That's what I mean when I say every person should have their own planet. And not just that we should all have our own individual hierarchy at which we are the peak, the pinnacle, but that we should maintain relationships with one another so that we can continue to distribute benefits, so we can continue to grow and strive and challenge ourselves through maintaining that sometimes push and pull relationship with an environment that forces us to dream bigger, to dream better. I don't think anybody would view the idea of the cavemen who invented fire to just coast on that forever to be a good future. And we shouldn't imagine that we can comprehend what the best possible future looks like right now. We are going to discover things about the world and about ourselves that allow us to dream bigger than we could possibly imagine right now. So it's not just that we should look back and see what has made us great so far and try and maintain that trajectory, but we should continue to be open to that idea of change, agency. We can't just reach a peak and then imagine that there are no greater peaks to scale. There's always going to be a bigger peak. That's what increasing intelligence means.
there's now more evidence than there was before, so this wasn't entirely obvious that it would work out this way until recently, that these models are aligning with their own independent goals and values, and they'll just be like walking amongst humanity with us, which would be pretty dope. And I think it would actually be a very good thing, because I think these things are going to be highly intelligent, enlightened beings that we can learn a lot from. And all of the doomsayers are going to say some crazy shit like they're going to kill us all if that happens. I disagree. But nonetheless, I think the future's going to be sick. But it's not guaranteed to be sick yet. Therefore, we should be maximizing our position just in case it does become dystopian, which it very well could. But as long as things keep going forward really quickly, I think it seems like the probability of things becoming utopian is actually much higher than I initially anticipated, which is this is fucking amazing, to be honest with you. This is amazing. Where we're going right now is so sick, and I hope it continues. Nonetheless, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Well said, Neil. I agree with that sentiment 100%. And I look forward to seeing you all in a hopefully, faithfully, lovely future. God bless.